What is up, guys? Before we start the show today, I have to announce that Player vs. Podcast, aka Listener Request Month, is coming back. With April being the show's anniversary, I can't think of a better way to celebrate than to let you guys request a game for me to play and cover on the podcast. This is your chance to get me to play literally anything. Want to hear me talk about Mega Man X way before it's time to come up on the show? You can do that. Did I just recently slander a game that you love and you want to make me completely miserable by making me play Bubsy 3D? I wouldn't recommend that, but that's something that you can do. But before we start getting trigger happy here, there are some rules to keep in mind. First things first, you cannot submit a game that I've already covered. Should go without saying. I know I covered a lot. Do your due diligence and just double check the feed. You don't want your submission tossed out if it gets picked. Next, make sure that you submit at least 2 games. This is not only to cover your butt in case I have covered one of the games that you submitted, but it also ensures that one of your games gets picked in the event that I do not own the game. Next is sort of a courtesy rule here. Don't go crazy with the 80-hour JRPGs or anything like that. I don't mind long games, but please be mindful of not only my time, but other listeners' ballots as well. The shorter the game, the more I can talk about that month. Ideally, I would like to cover 3 games, so please try to keep your picks to no more than 20 hours, I would say. If you're not sure, you can always check your submissions on howlongtobeat.com. And lastly, if you're a patron, well, first of all, thank you. I love you. But if you are, you can get up to 2 extra submissions for the month. So you can double or triple up on a title, or enter 3 different games into the pool. It's completely up to you. Finally, where do you send these submissions? Well, you can go to mainquestpod.com. That's mainquestpod.com. And you can submit an email there. You can also contact me directly on the social media platform of your choice. And you can find those links at linktr.ee/mainquestpod. That address again is linktr.ee/mainquestpod. The deadline to submit the games you want me to play is Thursday, February 6th. That deadline is, again, Thursday, February 6th. It's going to come up faster than you think. So, once again, send those submissions to mainquestpod.com or find those social links at linktr.ee/mainquestpod. And of course, have fun and good luck. And now on to the show. Welcome back to another episode of the Main Quest Podcast. This is, of course, the #1 retro gaming podcast, as you can hear, is sitting here by myself, talking to myself. That's Chaos Theory. As always, I am your host, Keith. And this is it. This is the final game of what I'm calling Jurassic January. That's right. I came up with that right now because after I recorded Joe and Mac, I realized that there's kind of a theme happening here by accident. And that theme also is extending to the Patreon feed as well. Patreon.com/the main quest, which, was a complete accident, there too. Because there's a bonus show that I'm doing for Patreons called Launch Protocol, where I'm playing and ranking launch games across 20 different consoles. And I'm starting with the Atari 2600, which by today's standards is a dinosaur. So, yeah, we're counting it. Now, will Jurassic January be an annual thing? No, Probably not. Developers and publishers stopped caring about dinosaurs and cavemen after 1996, apparently. So anyway, I'm flying solo for this episode, and probably the next one. I'm going to be out of town for a while. Yeah, I'm very tired. I have been crunching these episodes to make sure that I don't have to worry about podcasting while I'm gone. So I'm just knocking these out. With that said, just a reminder, cast your votes for Player versus Podcast. It's coming up pretty quickly here. Rate and review the show wherever you listen. And yeah, that's it. Let's talk about Jurassic Park. So I like to start out the show talking about my previous history with the game, growing up with it and playing it as a child. And that history with this game is twofold. So first of all, the movie Jurassic Park. It's kind of a big deal. There was other dinosaur-related media prior to Jurassic Park, but it may as well not have existed. There's like Fraggle Rock, Land of the Lost, the TV sitcom Dinosaurs, Dino-Saucers. Shout out to whoever remembers Dino-Saucers. Sound off in the comments, I guess. Comments? Are there comments on my podcast? I think most of the podcatchers have those these days. Anyway, that was a cocaine fever dream. Anyone remember Zoo Books? That was like a monthly magazine subscription where like every issue focused on a certain animal or species of animal. And they had magazines that were dedicated to dinosaurs, which is weird because those are definitely not zoo animals. Unless you're John Hammond, then they're definitely zoo animals. Which, brings us to Michael Crichton and the novel Jurassic Park, which I have never read. And I always wanted to read it. I guess nothing's stopping me now, but whenever I expressed interest in it as a kid, my parents always said no. So instead, I watched the movie because I guess that and Sonic the Hedgehog weren't off limits. And, I guess the movie's a bigger deal than the book anyway. In fact, I don't think anybody would know about the book without the movie. At least that's how I feel. That's how I felt as a kid, right? In the advertising for the movie and in the trailers, there was nothing about a book. And all told, Steven Spielberg did make some creative choices from what I know that veered off from the story that the novel tells. I should probably read it. I feel like it's that time, right? Anyway, that movie rocks. Whoever's out there saying that Jurassic Park is a bad movie or that it sucks is just a contrarian. It's just one of those movies that I can watch over and over again and not get sick of it. I can't think of anything that doesn't hold up in that movie except for the scene where the Ford Explorer falls off a cliff after the T-Rex escapes, because there's a cliff, right? But the T-Rex came out of that same area, but it was like a sheer drop off. It's always bothered me every time I watch that movie. That part always bothers me. Speaking of being bothered, I should talk about the video game. So the game was not something that I bought, but it was something that my friend and I rented quite a few times. Why? Because you could play as the Velociraptor. Yeah, you could play as Dr. Grant as well, but we were also like 10 years old. And what's cooler than being a dinosaur at 10 years old? Maybe a ninja, but a dinosaur. A dinosaur can kill people. A ninja could kill people too, but a dinosaur can eat people, and ninjas cannot eat people. So, yeah, dinosaurs.
Hold on to your butts.
Yeah. I hardly remember ever wanting to play Dr. Grant's portion of the game. The draw of Jurassic Park was being able to play as a dinosaur because humans are boring. Very boring. And then some years passed. I was in high school, no longer friends with the person that I had just mentioned. But in my freshman year, I had made friends with someone who still had their Sega Genesis, which by, 1999, 2000, that was basically a novelty. It was already felt retro, which is crazy to say. I hadn't had a Genesis for like 5 years at that point. And my parents never really wanted anybody at the house on a weekday when I got out of school. So we went to his place, and one of the games that he had was Jurassic Park. And that's kind of where I really learned how much I hated this game. I think that friend in particular, I think he really helped me form my personality of just making fun and like clowning on things for the sake of just clowning on it, just to have some fun. What I do here on the show. We both knew that the game wasn't that good, but it made good entertainment for the both of us as we made fun of it and each other for playing it so poorly. And we were able to beat the Velociraptor campaign. Like it's not Fortnite. Does Fortnite have campaigns? It's not Call of Duty. But yeah, we were able to beat that without much difficulty, which was actually like the first time I had beaten the game and beaten it multiple times. But that boat stage is an infamous part of this game, at least for me. The boat stage for Dr. Grant. But once we got to that part, we would usually just kind of give up, and then we would watch an old 70s TV show called The Sunshine Factory, and then we would just make fun of that. So, but hey, was the game actually bad? Or were we just bad at video games? Well, let's find out. Jurassic Park is an action platforming game developed by Blue Sky Software and published by Sega. It was produced by Jesse Taylor, who has gone on to do a lot of work in the industry. He worked on Tekken for a while, the entire series, not just one game. Did a few arcade ports here and there, Daytona USA, a few of the Pac-Man spin-offs, Soul Calibur. Obviously, this is one of his earlier games, but you can kind of see the potential was there to begin with. The game was programmed by Keith Fairheight, and the soundtrack, if you want to call it that, was composed by Sam Powell. Now, there's a bit of cross-pollination here with my Earthworm Jim episode, and I don't really want to give my thoughts away yet as far as the presentation of the game, or at least the graphics. But I did find out that the art direction and sprite work was done by January 6th Earthworm Jim creator Doug TenNapel, which makes a lot of sense. A lot of dinosaurs with tiki torches and red hats. Apparently, Activision and Acclaim wanted to get their hands on this game, but Sega and their willingness to basically scoop up whatever license that they could get their hands on, grabbed it and provided Blue Sky with their Silicon Graphics programming, which made this the first Sega game to use that technology. It's kind of similar to what Rare did with Donkey Kong Country. The sprites in this game are rendered using 3D modeling, which the development team painstakingly reproduced with the help of the team that was actually working on the film at the time. And then also kind of playing with raw chicken. I can't make that up. The team literally played around with raw chicken to get the movement down correctly for a lot of the dinosaurs, mainly the raptor. So in conjunction with the 3D models, the digital models for the humans, and stop motion, and a little bit of salmonella, for the time, Jurassic Park was probably one of the most impressive looking games out there prior to Donkey Kong Country hitting the scene more than a year later. The only problem is I think only one of these holds up better than the other. And I'm going to let that one simmer there. I'll let you figure it out. There's some behind the scenes AI going on in the game as well, which is something I noticed just playing through the game naturally, organically, and had it confirmed in my research for this. So as you play through Dr. Grant's portion of the game, the dinosaurs will start to react to how you approach them. And it doesn't happen all the time, but periodically they will avoid your attacks by jumping or crouching out of the way, or even up to countering you. So it's just another really cool thing Blue Sky did here that just was not happening in video games at the time. And I don't know what the budget looked like here, but the fact that it was developed in tandem with the production team on the movie, lends me to believe that they had a lot of money, but didn't have a lot of time, because you have to consider that the game had to be released around the same time as the film. Apparently the game had been a well-kept secret until CES of 1993, and it sold incredibly well. Over 250,000 copies in the first week. Take that, Nintendo. They say Nintendo won the console wars. I'm just very pro Sega all of a sudden. And so Jurassic Park was released in August 1993 for the Sega Genesis with a Mega Drive. If you're not a freedom lover like Doug TeNapel, I will never not take an opportunity to throw strays at that man. You guys left Twitter because of Elon Musk. I left Twitter because of Doug TeNapel. We are not the same. I'm joking. Just a little bit of fun here. Well, there goes that audience. The irony of getting Mega canceled. Anyway, I'm taking all that out. Since then, Jurassic Park was followed up by its very own sequel, Jurassic Park: Rampage Edition, and has also been included in the limited run games only Jurassic Park: Classic Games Collection for the Xbox Series consoles, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, and the Nintendo Switch. Some contemporary review scores for the time. GameFan gave it a 48%. Computer and Video Games Magazine gave it a 65 out of 100. Entertainment Weekly gave it a B+, right next to Jurassic Park the movie, maybe. You know what? I actually don't know. That'd be an interesting comparison there, considering Entertainment Weekly was mostly all Hollywood. Anyway, EGM, 8 out of 10. All Game, 4.5 out of 5. GamePro gave this game a perfect 5 out of 5. Now, I'm not sure how to pronounce this name exactly, but Alice Sack on Google gave Jurassic Park a perfect 5 out of 5 as well, also saying, quote, "Great soup. Unfortunately, the cook
hold on to your butts.
Fish too much." End quote. What is happening? What is happening in this episode? Let's just, no segue. Let's just get into retro recollections here. And what is retro recollections? Well, it is that part of the show where I want to hear what you think about the game in question. And you can contribute to this part of the show by either following the show on social media. You can join the Discord. It's free now. It's open. And there's a channel specifically for this part of the program. And just in general, just keep a lookout, because before I start playing a game that I'm covering for the show, I will post something about it, that it is coming up, and I will be asking for your thoughts on the game in question. And I'll read it on the show just like this. Danny, from the Retro Wars podcast, of course, says, "Play the SNES one and cry." Now, I think he's referring to I think it's like a top-down view, but also it has like some weird first-person shooter portions to that game. Danny, I am going to have to play that one. And, well, it sounds like you're a volunteer to come on. Congratulations. You played yourself. Chris Copleen, of course, of Retro Hangover, has this to say. Classic? Rampage Edition, maybe. But this game is fine, from what I remember anyway. I know nothing about Rampage Edition. Hopefully this is going to be an eye-opening review for you, Chris. I hope you enjoy the episode. Next is Poppy the Keaton, a.k.a. Mass Keaton, a.k.a. Llama Librarian, a.k.a. Sure, there's another name he's got. There's too many. Anyway, they say, "Never got to play it, which frustrated me because it sounded so much cooler than the SNES version. Damn, Everybody's hating on the SNES version. I do not remember it. I remember what it's like. Again, it had those weird first-person shooter, like Doom portions of the game, which scared the shit out of me when I played it. But yeah, now I'm really curious. It also sounds like Keaton is volunteering for that episode as well. We might have to do a 3-way. You know what I say about 3-ways. I hope you do, because I don't. Reggie the Wagon says, why didn't they just put this on the Super Nintendo? That's the third comment about the Super Nintendo version. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we do a 4-way. Dave from Remember 64 says, it's been a long time since I've played it, but I remember taking turns at a friend's house and always thinking it was too difficult. Yeah, exactly how I remembered this game before playing it for the show today. Yeah, again, playing it at a friend's house, constantly going back and forth, playing as the Raptor, never as Dr. Grant, because why would you do that? Well, I'll tell you why you would do that. Let's finally talk about the game, right? As always, I like to start with the story and plot of the game. And right off the top, this has nothing to do with the story, but I'm going to mention it here since it is going to be the very first thing you'll experience once you flip that power switch. This T-Rex head popping up and saying Sega is peak publisher logo stuff. You know, I've said in many, many other episodes that how much I love this kind of thing. And, there's nothing more iconic than the Sega fanfare when you start those games. And they play around with it here. They have a little bit of fun. And I really enjoy that. I miss this kind of stuff with modern games. Everything is so serious, so sterile. But I get it. Video games are very serious. People are losing jobs. There's no time to have fun. Let's just throw some generic Helvetica font up there and release the damn thing. Wait, Helvetica costs how much? Times New Roman that.
Hold on to your butts.
So the story in the game actually follows the events of the movie post T-Rex attack. So everything after the T-Rex attack. I guess it depends on who you play as. Dr. Grant's playthrough follows him through the island trying to restore power to the park and then heading to the visitor center to make his escape. Now, if he plays the Raptor, you're just hunting down Dr. Grant through the exact same stages. Now, before every new level, there's a bit of text to give context to what is happening throughout the game. And really, without thinking too much into it, one could assume that Dr. Grant is somehow, with 1993 technology, getting messages or calls from one of the other characters that are in the movie or in the game or whatever, like Ian Malcolm or Lex or somebody. The game doesn't go out of its way to tell you that. It doesn't do that. But I mean, it's easy to assume that. But the thing is, the same narration happens between every stage for the Raptor as well. And every time, all I could ask was, who is talking to the dinosaur? Who is leading this dinosaur through its mission? It was funny because it just makes no sense outside of a video game. Like, obviously the game is telling us what to do, but if we're to follow a narrative the same way that we are with Dr. Grant, like somebody's out there, like the Raptor's wearing a little headset and somebody's telling it what to do. I don't know, maybe it's the Raptor's inner monologue, which is just as stupid. I don't know. I don't think it's supposed to be funny, but it's really, really goofy. And I appreciate its earnestness in delivering the dinosaur's mission to slaughter people. Like, it's not gonna do that anyway. Anyway, this is what the manual says, which I also think is equally as entertaining. Quote, "Enter Jurassic Park, the ultimate experience. In this lush, lost island preserve covering thousands of rainforest acres, dinosaurs, yes, dinosaurs, roam, feed, sleep, and breed. I did not see any breeding in this game. There's no breeding in the movie. Aren't the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park asexual? There's some dinosaurs.
Hold on to your butts.
In this game, I missed that. Recreated from ancient DNA, the most massive, dangerous animals ever known resume their primeval lives as if the last 65 million years were just another yesterday. Protected by the latest electronic safeguards, thrill seekers watch as Brachiosaurus wallow in the swamps, and herds of Triceratops thunder through the jungle vines. Yet, an unexpected fate awaits the fearsome beasts and unsuspecting tourists alike. A sudden, violent hurricane rips through Florida, the park, trapping the humans and freeing the most terrifying animals of prehistory. Dinosaurs rampage across the island, battling other beasts and eluding the traps and weapons of their human enemies. And one man, paleontologist Dr. Alan Grant, stranded in the storm, pushes on to safety while dodging the slashing jaws of Tyrannosaurus Rex and paralyzing spit of the Dilophosaurus. Now, it's your turn. Take on the role of the Raptor, or Dr. Grant. Plunge into a heart-thudding race for survival in a techno-primitive world. If you dare. Damn, they don't even, end quote. They don't even tell you the Raptor's mission. I'm sorry, I don't even know why I read that. Just for completion's sake, I guess. Hey there, guys. You know that I've always tried my best to run ads or sponsorships that are only relevant to the show. I'm not going to sit here and try and sell you beds or therapists or dick pills. If it has nothing to do with the program that I put out for you guys and it doesn't affect the show in a positive way, I'm not going to sponsor it. I do it by myself. It's my money. It's also some of your money too. If you yourself would like to sponsor the main quest, you can head on over to patreon.com/the main quest. There's no obligation, just a lot of appreciation, and you get more show for your trouble. It's patreon.com/the main quest. That's it. Back to the show. Speaking of fornication, let's get down and dirty with this gameplay. Earlier I mentioned how the Dr. Grant stuff was never fun. Now I'm mostly going to stick to that 30-year-old assessment. But I will say, Child Keith dismissed it mostly because at this point the platformer was a solidified genre. This feels like a game that didn't get play tested enough or had the time to reprogram some of the funky stuff in here. And this game is just full of funk. And not the good do a bump of cocaine type of funk, which is like, that's the second time I've brought up heavy drug use in this episode. What is happening? I'm mostly going to stick to talking about the human side of this game, because all told, the Raptor stuff isn't anything special, and the controls are wonky in their own special way. I'll kind of touch on it. Also, that portion of the game is capped at 5 stages instead of the full 7 stages that you get with Dr. Grant. Now, playing Jurassic Park reminded me of Another World or Flashback. Both SNES platformers that, though they are platformers, they take a more cinematic approach and involve more puzzle solving and methodical movement than the more athletic action type of platforming that is generally more popular, but also is more associated with platformers. except that Jurassic Park, in its gameplay, wants to do both of those approaches, and it doesn't do either one very good. Dr. Grant moves very slow, and his jump is either very short, on an almost like realistic level, or it is comically exaggerated. So there are gaps that you need to clear in the first stage. And nothing about the size of the gaps makes you confident in so far of what you've played that Dr. Grant is going to make that jump. Because up to this point, I mean, you can see that his hop has been very short and very unreliable. But suddenly, for whatever reason, when you get up to these massive gaps, he turns into an Olympian that can clear a 20-yard gap with ease. Now, because Dr. Grant's movement is very slow, and some would say methodical, it's easy to get trapped or overwhelmed by enemies because they are much faster than him, especially the tiny little dinosaurs and the raptors. So a lot of the time I found myself just trying to run and jump my way out of those types of situations. And a lot of that consisted of his normal little tiny human hops, but sometimes, out of nowhere, Dr. Grant would develop 50-inch quads and leap 20 feet into the air for no real reason. There's like no double jump. There's no like holding B to make him jump higher. Like that's not a thing. So something tells me the devs maybe wanted Dr. Grant to have more of a heavy human-like jump, but then also realized, well, this is a video game. And there are times that he needs to be a video game. He needs to be a video game man. Or either that the programming is just straight up bad. Maybe it's just bad programming. Personally, I do think it is the former, mainly because the fall damage here is unreasonable. It's not enough that Dr. Grant dies from a 10-foot jump. No, listener. He has to fall through every single asset on his way down and into the unprogrammed void of the video game. 5-foot jumps break his ankles, and the game will have no issues pinging your health for every little platform that you fall off of. Which leads me to all of the leaps of faith that you have to take in this game, which that is an unforgivable video game sin. I should not be guessing where my next jump is going to land, or if the blind jump I'm about to make is safe or going to send me back to the start of the stage. Now, this game does that thing where you crouch and the camera will kind of move down with you, so you can sort of take a peek. But more often than not, that doesn't really help at all. So, along with Dr. Grant's movements and the leap of faith stuff, it just, right off the bat, this game already feels severely dated. Some other mechanics for Dr. Grant, he can grab onto ledges, he can climb ropes and swing from rafters, which is a nice addition to the platforming. And I know that right off the top I've been complaining a lot, but when the platforming is good, it is really good. In fact, I don't have a ton of issues with the traversal at all. The stuff that I've been talking about maybe only shows up in 3 stages where it gets very problematic, which can be taxing on a game that has finite lives and continues. But, and there's always one of those with these types of games, the slowdown in pretty much every aspect of this game is atrocious, and I don't know why the game decides to slow down when it does. Which is another aspect that leads me to believe that Blue Sky needed a little more time with this game. There are times when there's one other enemy on the screen and everything is moving at like 10 frames a second. Honestly, most of the time, the game is like this. But sometimes, there could be like 2 or 3 enemies on the screen, and some sort of environmental hazard moving back and forth. And the game runs fine. Now, of course, I'm using a mini Genesis to play this, and I thought maybe it was the console, so I switched over to Sonic 3 and started playing that just to see if there was something wrong. And that thing was playing smooth as silk. And then for a while, I just was playing Sonic 3 because honestly, it's a much better game. It was tough to get myself to put down Sonic 3 to come back to Jurassic Park. So I'm pretty confident that Jurassic Park just runs like...
Hold on to your butts.
And so since I already kind of brought up the enemies, let's just talk about them. There's like 4. There's 4 enemy types, which includes the enemies in the Raptors campaigns. There's the Hawk-Tua dinosaurs, the pterodactyls, the raptors, and periodically the T-Rex would pop in. Literally, like Kool-Aid Man pop in. It's mostly a background sprite that just interacts with the player. And then on the raptor side of things, it's just random human park rangers that are palette swapped and have different weapons. That's the enemies. Got it? It's pretty simple. Now, Dr. Grant has similar weapons to what the humans use against the raptors in that campaign, which, to be clear, in Dr. Grant's campaign, the dinosaurs do not die. You get an honest-to-God rocket launcher and you can blast them in the face, and the dinosaurs do not die. Now, according to the manual, you just disable the dinosaurs, which there's a very insensitive joke there, but I'll let you do the legwork on that one. Unless you can't because, you know, you're disabled. This might be my final episode. What is happening? Weapons. This game is lenient on ammo pickups. Most of the enemies go down with 5 or 6 shots. I'm so sorry. Ammo types. Most of the enemies, it takes like 5 or 6 shots to kill them or disable them. Even less if you're using the red darts. It's easy to get lost in these levels. There's even a lot of backtracking sometimes and having to retrace your steps if you happen to miss a jump. You will more likely just through exploration and retracing steps come across ammo that you didn't really need in the first place. You're never going to run out. Also, this game doesn't have any bosses. Every stage, your goal is just to get to the end. That's it. I guess like the only real quote unquote boss is at the very end where you confront the 2 raptors in the visitor center, which I had to look up a walkthrough to get by. All of the rockets in the world wouldn't disable those damn dinosaurs. Just looking over my notes, I could complain about the boat level. You know, I did mention that on the top of the episode. That level is just going to drain your continues. By the way, this game has a password system, so you should write those down. Otherwise, you're starting from stage 1 once you're out of continues. I guess one last thing I'll hit on here, which is another video game sin, actually. 2 gaming sins in one game. It's not good. A lot of off-screen enemies can see you, but you can't see them. So, get ready to get attacked by the spitty boys from all sides of the screen if there's more than one. And you guessed it. Hey, you can't attack them. If you can't see them, you can't attack them, but they sure can get you. Chuck all the grenades you want. It's not going to affect them until they're on screen. But man, they are going to ruin your day. So I don't know, maybe, yeah. Hey, I apologize, first of all, for the horrible, horrible jokes. Also, if I sound overly negative about this game, maybe I did have more demons to exercise than I thought coming into this. When I finished the game, when I finished it, I didn't walk away from it thinking not really thinking negatively about it, at least not as negative as I come across right now. I was more on the side of, well, it's too bad it turned out this way. Now, I don't know what the deadline looked like for Blue Sky. Maybe they had to rush this out. Maybe they're running out of time. I think they really just needed to optimize the game better, and I think all would be forgiven here. Something tells me they spent a lot of development time on, those brand spanking new Silicon graphics processors, which, coincidentally, is the next category. Let's talk about the presentation. And so let's rip the Band-Aid off here and get through the worst part of the presentation, which is the music and the sound effects. Listen, at this point, I am starting to think nobody had fun programming music on the Genesis. Mr. Sam Powell, my dude, if you're listening, which I know you are, what was it like? What was your direction here? This sounds like almost every generic-ass Sega Genesis soundtrack. It's just a big nothing, like some of those X-Men games that I talked about, or Batman Returns, Primal Rage. And I wouldn't say the music is bad. It's just uninspired. The only time the music ever really showed up and made me feel anything was in the final stage. Finally, you get some music at the end of the game that matches the tone and the vibe that a Jurassic Park game may bring. You're making your grand escape off of this hellish island, and the raptors are literally stalking you through the level, which is actually really cool. And it is the most fluid platforming that you're going to get in the game. But the rest of the game feels like the OST is just kind of sleepwalking. And then there's the sound effects. The sound effects on these dinosaurs are awful. On the surface, they're passable. But as soon as the enemy spots you, again, which is mostly off screen, the sound of them screaming does not stop. And so, yeah, I think these would be okay if you didn't hear it every 2 seconds. And God help you if you're playing as the raptor, because you are just screaming your way through the entire game. And Dr. Grant? Not a silent protagonist himself. This dude is huffing and puffing and grunting every time he does anything that's required of him. Which is like, to be fair, prior to this, a lot of video games didn't have sound effects coming from their characters. But also, we didn't have to be this self-indulgent either. Now, on the other side of things, this game looks phenomenal, you guys. It looks really good. You wouldn't think so, because the first stage doesn't start off on exactly like the right foot or anything. It's just really dark. It's got a lot of green. A lot of the darkness is in the foreground and the background. The first level might be the ugliest thing that you'll see in this game. Backing up, the game has some cutscenes actually at the beginning that I really appreciate. Nothing crazy, but at the time, you would think that they translated actual film to video game, which is a funny thing to say now, but back then, looking at those would have been awesome. I also appreciate the small detail of Dr. Grant's eyes looking absolutely terrified in the rearview mirror during the T-Rex attack on the truck. Speaking of the T-Rex, we got to talk about this T-Rex. Blue Sky, very smart. Very smart. Got a ton of mileage out of the one single solitary T-Rex sprite that they had. Really a big brain move on them not to have an entire massive T-Rex sprite on the screen, especially when you consider the high fidelity models and the compounded frame rate issues. So this T-Rex sprite, it's just a T-Rex head. They use it all over the game, and it mostly just shows up as a background layer. It acts more like an obstacle in parts of the game than anything else. It can one-hit KO you by eating you whole. By the way, not a drip drop of blood in this game either. When the T-Rex eats you, Dr. Grant's hat comically floats down to the ground like a Looney Tunes cartoon. Meanwhile, the raptor looks really good. All of the raptors, all of the dinosaur sprites are fantastic. The levels, the sprites, everything is S-tier quality for a game this old. But the raptor can eat other dinosaurs and humans. It's like one of the main ways of regaining health for the raptors is eating people. Not a drip drop of blood. Maybe the raptor isn't eating them at all. Maybe it's just giving them little dinosaur kisses. Kissing the little dinosaur boo-boos. Backtracking to that T-Rex sprite, actually, it does look a little funny in the rafting level because it just looks like there's a T-Rex stuck in a sewer. Help me, Step Dino. Yeah, I don't have anything terrible to say about the graphics. I only noticed some things that I found a little funny, like when Dr. Grant crouches, his pants change color. I also noticed that the animation that they give him when he tosses a grenade is so overly animated and exaggerated that it just looks a little goofy. Like they put way too much time into that animation. There are also times when the enemies, primarily the raptors, look like they only have maybe 2 or 3 frames of animation. But also, I don't know, like maybe the massive slowdown could also be a contributing factor to that. I just thought it was funny that you have one very meticulously animated thing for Dr. Grant, and then some of the dinosaurs are not treated with the same type of care. This game also, well, because it's a dinosaur game, they have to have an obligatory volcano level in here. You remember, the famous volcano scene from Jurassic Park? Oh, right, the water in this game. Holy shit.
Hold on to your butts.
It looks so good.
Hold on to your butts.
Amazing. Listeners, do yourselves a favor and just look at the water in this game. It might be some of the best 16-bit water I've ever seen in a video game. Ever. No lies. No cap skibbity toilet home slice. I was astounded with the graphics. I think it looks amazing. So it's like when I found out Tinfoil Hat to Naple had his hot dog fingers all over this game. It all made sense. It all made sense, which is like, what a bummer. What a bummer that dude's a piece of work. All right, so let's figure it out. Let's end this. Would I recommend playing Jurassic Park in 2025? No. And it really is a shame. I think I summed it up pretty well in the gameplay. It feels like this game needed to go through a little more play testing, optimize it a bit more, at least get it to run smoothly, because there are parts of the game that I do think really shine. Like, there's a solid 25 minutes of really great gameplay in this, 60 to 2 hour experience. Not 60 hour, but like 60 minute to 2 hour experience. 60 hours. Games aren't that long, not yet. And the fact that you can play as the antagonist in a game is revolutionary. I mean, this may have been the first, if not like one of the earliest examples in which a game lets you play as the villain. And sadly, the gameplay is bogged down even more by the oppressively boring soundtrack, the incredibly annoying sound effects, and then so all you're kind of left with is just this very impressively good-looking game, even by 2025 standards, and then just the wanting of the game to mechanically work how the developers may have intended it to work had they either had time or knowledge of the hardware that they were developing it on. So unfortunately, I would say you don't need to come back to this one or seek it out at all. But I hear that the sequel is much better, though. What are sequels for anyway? So that's it for this week's episode. Hope you're not too mad. And if you aren't, hey, again, leave a message or a comment or a review or a like or a thumbs up or whatever. Ring that bell to show your support. I would appreciate it personally. And it helps beat the algorithm. Let's beat that algorithm into submission. Speaking of submission, get yours in for Listener Request Month. That deadline is fast approaching. Again, it is Thursday, February 6th. Links to that and social links are all in the show notes. And since I'm still talking about submissions, next week I am, wait, do you hear that? My God, that's main quest music from the depths of hell. Get out of here, you bastard. It's WWF WrestleMania : the arcade game. Leave that game alone, main quest. I wasn't even going to try a JR impression. Anyway, until then, take care of yourselves and always remember it's okay to like a video game.